Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Even though the markets are melting, we are still here and we are loving it. All right, we're going to give it a couple minutes for everyone to go ahead and be able to jump on. I will be upgrading Luis. Today we have some really good questions that were posted to us from the community, as well as from some friends and family that we hope you guys find enjoyable. As always, feel free to throw additional questions in the chat. And now we are ready to go. Let's kind of get it going. Welcome everyone to the monthly real life trading real estate show. We are Hector Hernandez with Cash for Houses, and my co-host is Mr. Luis Alejandro Lopez. And we are here to answer some of your questions that we've received throughout the last couple of weeks on Slack, on emails, as well as some of those from our very own friends and family that are either already real estate investors or looking to get into real estate investing themselves. One of the questions that we always get from a lot of people, and probably people's main question typically when they are not realtors and when they do not have direct access to a realtor, is how do you know when a property is overpriced if the listing agent is telling me this is a fair price? Obviously, they listed it for that price, so they think it's a fair price. We always rely on comparable sales or comparable rentals if we're looking at rentals. And so today we wanted to give you all three very easy public free websites that you can all use to go out and do this research yourself. It should take you literally a few minutes. We're going to run through the process that we use ourselves in markets that we do not have real estate realtor connections, and we do not have the ability to just jump on the MLS real quick and see those comparables, or text one of our realtors to do those comparables. We often work in markets where we don't have that advantage. And so we rely on these websites just as much as the next person does, primarily for our very basic preliminary numbers. Once you're ready to commit and you're under contract on a property, I would definitely urge you to find a local agent to run a comparative market analysis, CMA, or a local appraiser to make sure that what you're seeing on these public free websites lines up with what they're seeing on the local MLS and the local sales, because sometimes some of these websites can be a little bit delayed. And so while they're great for running numbers and making sure that initial interest is there, you want to always double check with the end all be all being the MLS for the local area where you're working. All right, Luis, we see your beautiful face. I believe we should be able to hear you. Give us some gold, buddy.
All righty. So what we usually do is we get a property, okay? So we want to be working in a property we purchased a couple of months ago, and we're very familiar with the area. So it's easier for us to give you kind of a good rundown of how do we come to a price. The property address is 21147 Glendale Avenue. Okay, we usually use the freest sites. You had them on the list. It's Realtor.com, Zillow.com, and Redfin.com. They give you all the information for free. They give you all the properties that are for sale, all the properties that have sold, and gives you pretty much all backgrounds on each and every one of them. Okay, so let's say this one is loading up. Here's the property. We got the property, as you see, we sold for $93,000. The estimate on Zillow supposedly is 176. Okay, 700. If you go through the website, this website will tell you the estimates. Okay, it tells that the estimate will be in the lower range 157 and higher range 193. Okay, in the 30 days, we made 34 grand, which is amazing. Okay, just by doing nothing to it. And it will give you all the information.
Hashtag hold muscle.
Yeah, that's amazing. We're just sitting here and, the house is working for us. So ideally, yes. And actually, we thought we bought the house ideally to sell it around the 190s range. We're doing a lot of work to it. But we're going to see. I got surprised because we haven't run comps in that thing for about a month. And we got, really, really, really nice surprise. So here's the information. He's telling you the properties that are around, properties that have sold.
So this right here, let's really dive into here. So on Zillow's website, right, when you pull up the property, it's telling you, hey, we think this property is worth X because of these homes that sold around there, the comparable sales. And they tells you right there 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and then you're able to click the little arrow there. And then just below, it shows you a map of the close proximity of these homes. So now, one thing that appraisers are going to do and realtors are going to do, they're going to go out max about a mile from the property, unless you're out in the country and homes are, you know, a lot further apart. Obviously, they got to go a little bit wider. For the most part, we usually will try to narrow it down to a half mile,
Or
just to be a little bit more on the safe side. We always play things on the conservative side. So when we ran our numbers on this property, we threw about a 175 to a 180 target price, but we knew we could get at least 190. But we ran all our numbers obviously on the lesser of those values. And as Louis said, surprise, surprise, the market's gone even more in our direction. And so we're going to show you guys in a little bit what we think we're going to wind up with here in the next couple of months. So this is one way of doing this, and obviously there's also, you can drill into the map on Zillow, and then we'll drill into the map area a little later when we do the rental comps. For now, we'll just stick to this view here.
Same situation prepares in Redfin. Okay, as you see, this is the house, how we bought it. You know, we got the photos, the house obviously needed work, that's what we're doing. And we're going above and beyond on this one. That's why we're expecting to get, you know, more money than that 176 and more money than the 195 that we originally targeted. We're doing all new windows, hurricane impact windows. We're doing all new kitchen, all new flooring, all new bathroom. Basically, the house is going to be brand spanking new.
We're removing that one on the kitchen and opening it up, remodeling the entire layout of the kitchen.
And the house did not have any central AC. As you see here, every window is basically had, you know, they have the window ACs. So putting two central ACs, 2 mini splits, 1 mini split to handle both bedrooms and the other mini split to handle the rest of the living areas. It's a very tiny.
We're gonna do one per bedroom. One per bedroom and one in the living areas. Okay, so 3 in total, mini splits, which are a lot more efficient than central. I mean, I'm sorry, not as efficient as central, obviously, but way more efficient and durable than window shakers, as some people like to call them, or wall units, ACs. They're actually very, very popular in a lot of places other than the US. This bathroom is beautiful, isn't it, Jonathan? Right? That's my favorite color bathroom, man.
Yeah, it's RLT blue. But yeah, we're taking care of all that. Actually, the bathroom is already demoed. The whole house is demo. We're waiting for the permits for the windows. They're taking forever in order to, basically, we went all the way that we could do without the permit approval. So once the windows are approved and the AC is approved, then we start building up. Okay. Yes, actually, Jonathan just asked a question. We're asking about rentals in the area. That's our next question.
That's our next. We got basically
you. They're both related. We're gonna go for the value of the property, and then we're gonna say how we rent it. Okay.
And then so here on Redfin, we can see again the price sold. That was us, 93 grand. Hashtag we stole it. And Redfin actually gives it a much lower value. Redfin values it at 134. And so 133 to 146, they're going to put it somewhere in the middle ground. They tell you, hey, these are the two that we feel are valuing these properties.
And another thing, Redfin considers this price as it is in the photos. So remember, they're not counting for improvements. Every time we do an improvement, we are adding value. We're forcing the value up on the property. Okay, so obviously this thing is, you know, as Happy Love you saw it, no pain, no nothing.
Yep.
That's what we're gonna see when we do comps.
And then so if you
or where's the rentals in this one? What's that here?
Yeah, Redfin sometimes hides it at the bottom if they give it to you.
I know. If it gives it to me. Okay, but no, here are the comps that we're talking about. These are the things that are for sale at the moment.
There it is. Yep. So although Redfin is giving you their automated valuation at a much lower price point, keep in mind automated valuations are going to take into account every property that's sold within a certain distance, regardless of their state, whether they were rehab, whether they were complete junkers, like when we bought this one or not. So we are going to always focus more on the properties status and what they look like, because again, we're trying to compare our or we're trying to guess or estimate what our finished product is going to sell for.
Correct.
So we're going to look at the higher end of those sales and the ones that are nicer. We're going to assume this 2.25 listed right here, that's brand new listing. It's obviously a little larger than ours, and it obviously has a garage, so we take that stuff into account in order to compare it, because this home has a couple hundred square feet larger than ours, and it has a garage, which ours does not. However, it's not a full remodel. It looks like a semi remodel.
Mm-hmm.
I see it's got the old school windows. It's got the really old school flooring, which some people like. The kitchen looked pretty remodeled there, not too bad. And this is active. This is not sold. So I'm going to put a little bit of weight on this because this is our competition right now, but this hasn't sold. So there's no saying that this sells for 225, 300 or 50 grand. We really don't know. This is just kind of like saying, well, hey, properties in the market right now are around 2.25, between 199 and 2.25. We could potentially list somewhere around there, not see major pushback. Now, if we come on the market and we come in at 284, try to compare ourselves to a 1,500 square foot house on the water, that's just unreasonable of us, because we have a 800 square foot home not on the water, and that would just be silly of us to try to be so high up. It would definitely not appraise, although in this market you could probably still sell it.
And the other thing, when we went to the comps on top, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, you probably didn't because I was moving too fast. The comps that they use, okay, say sold a year ago, sold, a long time ago. Usually when you're gonna get an appraisal, the appraisal is gonna use the comparable properties within the last 6 months. On a regular market, they use 6 months. In this crazy market, they're using 3 months.
You want to click right there, view comparables on MapLoo. That usually for me, that's my favorite way. I'm scroll back up, right below the two pictures. See the blue link? Just below your two pictures of your comps, right there. Boom. Mm-hmm. All right, and then that's my favorite way. I'm a visual person. I'm a visual learner, and I'm always going to want to relate the map. One good point to notice here is I'm not sure if Lou, you could do a control plus for me so that you can zoom in a little bit there. Midway Boulevard seems to be dividing the north side and the south side of that neighborhood. I'm always going to want to look at comps on the same side of that road, because one major road in real estate could really change the entire landscape of the neighborhood and everything else. So I'm going to kind of look at what's on the north side, but I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight on it. I'm going to focus on what's on the lower end of that.
Yeah, actually, when we did our research, the neighborhood is here. Midway comes over here, basically up to here. Here in Gibraltar, there are larger homes than the one we have. So this is basically our scope. Okay. So we have 163 sold price on November 2021. So you see, this one doesn't even already 3 months out. March 2022. November, here, let's have a look at this one. Only 4 photos. Same thing, 2-1. Basically the same kitchen that we're gonna have. Same flooring that we're gonna have. We have no photos of the bathroom. I can imagine if they did all this, they did a full bathroom remodel. So
that one looks like a very, very, very comparable home to ours in terms of size and the condition in which we're going to leave ours.
Mm-hmm.
So we can, we're starting to feel like that 220 is very attainable.
Very doable. Okay.
Compared, as again, so we're going to use this one, Lou, if you want to throw it on the spreadsheet. So then what we'll do is we'll grab one of these and we'll say, hey, this one is a comparable to our deal, and we'll throw it on a spreadsheet.
Next one. So March 28th. You see, but this one has nothing to it. So for the quality of work that we're gonna end up doing, this house is basically the same as we bought it. You see stains in the ceiling, older kitchen. So, any other person would have bought that house that we bought for 93. If we would have just cleaned it, we could have sold it for, 153, I guess. Same bathroom, same situation, okay? So another thing that you can do your work, let's say this is the 153, this one's sold for that. How much value are we adding for the house? We're adding a new kitchen, 10, 12 grand. We're adding new windows, it's another 20-some thousand. We're adding new bathroom, another 3. Plus paint here, there, another 3 or 4. We tag off to the 100, to the 153, and we come to the value that we're looking at. Okay.
Yep, that's one way of doing it as well, because that's essentially what an appraiser is going to do.
Mhm.
And then that's how they come up with their valuation. Obviously, appraisers have a slightly different formula that they use, but we're not going to get complicated here. We're just
what they do is deduct. They deduct from the other ones, but it's and you either add it or you subtract.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and check out Realtor. That's by far my favorite one. Yeah. So we did Zillow, we did Redfin, my least favorite one. So in order of my favorite, and this is a personal for me, I prefer Realtor. I believe it's one of the more up-to-date ones. No, in fact, I know it's one of the more up-to-date ones by all the research that we've done and all the Realtor conferences that we've been to and that my wife has been to. Zillow comes in a second close because of their tech. Not that Zillow is always super accurate, but their tech is really, really good. And Redfin is down there because their tech is very laggy. And then so here on Realtor, same scenario, they give you their automatic valuation. They feel like it's going to be somewhere between 179 and 176. They tell you, hey, this is what all your neighbors' houses are worth. Again, all in an automated way. They are not actually here looking at conditions or anything to that effect. But when I want to kind of look at more accurately, I like to look at the map, sort of like we just did. So if you want to do that, Lou, and then just type in the zip code is usually what I do. I type in the zip code into Realtor in order to be able to narrow in and get a map view of that. Sometimes when you click here on the neighborhood map, it does it, but sometimes it doesn't. So I just make it easy on myself, throw in the zip code, and then it gives me a map of that area.
33952.
Right there. Just go back up and then click on the Charlotte County up top. There it goes. Boom. Perfect. So this is my favorite view here. You can actually select the property type and the listing status. More importantly, and here I'm going to narrow it down. I'm looking for comps. So I'm going to see exactly what closed. I'm going to zoom in on the map right around the home, right around the property. You can even, it's got a little drawing tool, so you could actually draw your search area if you wanted to. I tend not to get super complicated because I'm doing these usually on the fly when I'm running numbers. But this is one easy way to eliminate all the clutter that's around you. Sure. And just drill into the immediate area. If, in this case, we got a ton of comparables. If we only had like 3, then obviously we'd go a lot larger of an area. Yeah, and then so as you can see, what Lewis is doing there, he is drawing the neighborhood based on the main roads. So US 41 or State Road 41 is obviously a major road that's going to divide neighborhoods. We already established that Midway is going to divide neighborhoods, and it's pretty obvious that Harbor Boulevard is a major road. there's a lake on one side of it or a canal. And so that's obviously going to divide neighborhoods and change the characteristics of a neighborhood. So we want to stick to our very immediate area. If you want to actually zoom in a tiny little bit more on the map, Lou, so that we can kind of see what's going on there, and then point to, for the audience, exactly where our property is.
It's here.
Right there, Glendale.
It's this one here. It says NA.
It's essentially next to Elkham and right on Glendale there. So again, we see the 215 that we just took into account.
This one. Yeah.
It's there. Then we got a 224. And again, I'm mainly looking at the top of the market because my home will be on one of the best homes in the neighborhood. So I can basically command the highest prices in the neighborhood. Here we go. Very comparable home, 800 square feet. I think we're like 890. This is a 3-1. We're a 2-1. This has a garage. We don't, but it's still pretty comparable. So we're going to take a hit on garage against them. They looks like they installed an AC in the bedroom there.
Got a central AC there.
Yep. So this is essentially going to be really, really comparable to ours, with exception to, I think the windows here don't look like they're impact. And although our home is brand new, remodeled right now today, this one has been upgraded in the last few years. It's pretty obvious that it's not brand new kitchen, or bathroom, but it's relatively new. So it's going to be considered remodeled just like ours. Do you see anything about the windows there? No, right?
No, thing about windows.
No, so we essentially, and just based on experience, right? This might be different in your market. Here in Florida, a garage has about a $10,000 value. So we don't have a garage. So we immediately are going to shave off 10 grand on this property. And we're going to say that ours would be around 215, 214 compared to this one, because we do not have a garage and they basically have all the same upgrades as us. I didn't see the impact windows being labeled, and they honestly do not look like impact windows. But the door looks like an impact door. So I'm not going to give us any credit on it. I'm being conservative, because if I say, hey, Lou, we're probably going to get 214 for this, and then we wind up getting 220, Lou is not going to be upset.
No, I don't get upset no more.
He will be doing backflips. At this point, we're already doing backflips. We crossed the $200,000 mark. And we were always expecting to be just under 200.
All right. Yeah, we're looking at 191 when we bought.
Yep.
Okay. So.
And then, so since this one's superior, Lou, I would actually put minus 10K on the spreadsheet so that it gives you the formula properly. And that's, again, this is something that you don't necessarily have to know. And you would be perfectly fine if you were to leave the 225 price. It would not destroy your numbers by any means, because as you saw, 21034 Glendale Avenue sold for 220. So you'd still be right in line with that. We just are kind of giving you a little bit of a insight into how we do it. And then let's pick one more, Lou, one more. I want one more from that realtor website. There we go. Let's pick one that is perhaps a little bit more to the right, since we're all of them have been to the left. You got another 235 over here on Lee Terrace. That one's on the water, so I really want to try to avoid it because we do not have a water view.
No, it's a way bigger home, 3-2.
That is massive, yeah, compared to us. And then, so as you can see, you can change the filters to narrow it down for you a little bit more, as Lou is doing there. And this is just going to remove all the excess, There's actually a couple new ones that have come on the market at 159 and 169 there. Those are active listings from what I can see. That one just sold. Okay, let's take a look at that one. 210, 209, to be specific. It is about 200 square feet or 150 square feet larger than ours. And it looks...
It has a central AC.
It has a central AC. It doesn't really look upgraded. Nope, that's not an upgraded kitchen by any means.
Really clean, but
Yep.
Nope. And if they're
Okay, so I would use this one, man. I would feel perfectly comfortable using this one. We know we're gonna get more than these guys, a little bit more. They have a little bit more space than us and square footage than us. So appraisers will take that into account.
But we're in way better condition.
But we are in way superior condition. So we should, on a conservative scale, I say we're about even. We're right there. We can get the same 209 that they got. If I'm being aggressive, I feel like I could get more than that. In order to not complicate things for the sake of this call, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that in our area, appraisers usually value square footage at $35 a foot, and rehabs at $20,000. For the rehab, we're just gonna keep it nice and simple and assume that worst case scenario, that 209 is in the bag.
Yep, it is.
And plain and simple, now you're going to just real quick do the average of those three. Hey, this is what the average home in the area is selling. So you could do the average formula, or you could add them all and divide by 3. Same scenario. So boom, real quick, down and dirty way to get a potential after repair value on properties that you are looking at, whether you're looking to rent them or sell them. This is a very valid
work is exactly the same.
Because if you're going to rent them, you're still going to, potentially buy them and then they need rehab. And you want to make sure that you're not paying $210 for a property that needs rehab. And then now you're going to be at $230. Now you're upside down with the neighborhood. Even if you're renting them, it's not a great deal, in my personal, humble opinion. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, or opposing comments to that?
They're happy.
All right. Was that helpful? Give me a 1 on the chat if you found that to be helpful and useful. Yes, thank you, Jonathan. Boom.
Perfect.
Now we're gonna do the next question, which is a very similar process, but now for rentals. We're gonna use the very same 3 websites. Redfin sometimes is a little bit finicky for rental values, but it is doable. And on Realtor, all I do is just change right there to where it says rent and type in my zip code.
You took it already.
Oh, there you go. You did it already. Perfect. And same scenario. I'm going to zoom in on my map. Now, for rentals, I got to go a slightly larger area because there's just not that many rentals typically, unless you're in a very, very...
You see the difference here in our area, how they're renting? And look, once you go, half a mile south in the canal.
Yeah, that's closer to the water. That's the thing about Florida.
Yeah.
The closer to the water you are, the more money you pay. And I think that's everywhere and anywhere. But
yeah, and everything south of 41 or east of 41, you get way, way, way better.
Yeah. And then so if we want to kind of narrow it up, Lou, since we're going to have to look at a larger space of the map, let's bring it down to 2 bedrooms. Yeah, that's fine. Just 2 bedrooms will be fine. Boom. So right there, we automatically eliminated anything that's a 3-bedroom because we know we're at a disadvantage with a 2-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom. I have to be objective, even though my project is going to be beautiful and it's going to be fully upgraded and all this other stuff that I could tell myself, it's still a 2-bedroom house. Someone with 3 kids is going to struggle to live there. Or someone with 2 kids is going to, be a little bit tight there. Versus, a 3-bedroom home. And then, so as you can see on the water, this one is 1,800, very similar square footage. It's got the carport. We don't have a carport, but we have the nicer remodels. So that should about give us what we need.
Dog included. Actually, this house has nothing to it.
Oh, it's not even upgraded. But here we go. Boom.
Look at this. Look at this. This is gonna fall any moment.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and write that down on our spreadsheet on a little tab. So not upgraded, 2-1, 1,800.
Where's the other side?
And here's the reason why typically at the very least, I have the address and maybe some notes. Here we're just doing, a quick down and dirty for you guys. So we just have the address. But, 3 days from now, something comes up and I go back and I look at my notes and now I have the address as well as what I was thinking at the time. So eventually, once you guys are doing this full time, you're probably going to develop a spreadsheet that you use time and time again.
Mm-hmm. So they're asking for 1,800. Oh, all right.
All right. And then that one's on the water, so I'm going to ignore it, man.
This one?
Yeah, that one, it backs up to water. Look at the map.
Yeah.
And then the 14 is the one that I'm more particularly interested in because I think this one also backs up to water.
Here, same 1880.
No, that one does not back up to water. There we go. It's a little bit larger. It has a carport, again, in original conditions. 2-1.
You.
1880. So, Lou, you sure you want to sell this house?
I told you about it. We might not.
Hashtag cash flow, buddy.
No.
Okay, so another 1800, 2-1. And then let's go take a look at that 1400 so we can then move on and away from Zillow. You're looking at active houses for rent on Zillow. I want to also show everyone, and particularly Jonathan, because I know that he's asked about this. You can click right there where it says for rent. And then you can actually change that to be. Oh, they don't do it anymore.
When it's right now, not anymore.
Oh, that you used to be able to see once they've rented. Okay, but again, you are assuming that all of these guys here, they all have realtors. These are all, by the way, listed by agents. If you can tell, they all have an agent on the bottom of it. These agents did their homework. We're piggybacking off their homework.
It's broken windows and everything.
There we go. This is what ours looked like when we first bought it with those shabby windows and all that cool stuff there. Zillow does sometimes give you the rental estimate or whatnot.
Yeah, most time they give you this estimate rental for rental.
Yeah. This is a little bit smaller. It has the carport. It is in original condition, and they're asking 14. The other ones that were not as nice, but a little bit larger, are asking 18. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna play it safe, and like I always do, I'm gonna be somewhere in the middle of that. I'm going to say yes. It does not always show. That's why sometimes. So Jonathan commented that the Zestimate does not always show up. So that's why sometimes I resort to the map. But if you scroll down a little bit on the property information feature, there is scroll down a little bit more, Lou, a little more. Sometimes the Zestimate is not up top, but where it says all the pricing for the property, it will tell you. And then this is what I like about Zillow, that they give you the historical. Sometimes that comes in really handy.
But look at this. They're listed for 13. It's, oh man, we're just too cheap. And this one 14.
And that is happening from personal experience. I just listed a 2-2 that I was getting 1,400 for last year. For 1,700, I thought it was a stretch. I got so many offers between 18 and 19. We wound up locking it up at 19. So substantially above what we listed it for. And that could have been what happened here. They got a ton of offers, a ton of interest. Hey, let's jack up the price.
Yeah, that's what happens. Usually when, if you have an agent, when you have something active, they try to match it, either the sales price, or you see you've put the sales price they do very close. If they don't match it, they use their algorithm to work it out. But it's usually very similar to what you got. Or when you list, you can have them, you can set up something so they won't display the price. For example, every time we buy foreclosure, they do not show up the estimate price until we actually sold. That Glendale property that we were looking, it never had this estimate when we were looking. So we had to do the homework by hand.
Yes, exactly. Realtors do have the ability to turning that off a lot of times on their system, and they're able to block it.
$1,700, and
I like I was telling you earlier, I like to be a little bit conservative. So I would run numbers based on 1,600 at most, maybe even like 1,550, just because I don't like to stretch. When I'm running numbers, I like to play it conservatively. Can we do the same thing on Realtor real quick, Luz, so that they get a feel for a realtor? So click rent up top, and then same thing, type in your area there, and it's going to be very similar. Now Realtor is going to show you things that are for rent in that area. You zoom into the map, change it to make sure it's single family. There is a massive difference between a single family and a condo or a townhouse, what they could rent for the rental value.
Okay.
And the reason why I look on both is because sometimes there's, like I said, better information on Realtor than Zillow, even though you would think that they should have the same, right?
One extra bedroom for $2,000. This is the one we saw.
Yeah.
This one's Mihan.
Yeah, we did not see that one on Zillow. Honestly, I didn't see that one on Zillow.
Was not.
This one has a pool. Same. It's a 2-2, not a 2-1. So it's much more comfortable for the tenants to have a second bathroom, and they also have a pool. But if I'm estimating 16, I still feel pretty comfortable with my 16 compared to their 19.
Yeah.
I still feel very comfortable with that number.
Yeah, because people might not, okay, we don't have a pool, but we have a brand new home for everything. So yeah. Just having the impact windows right there, it's peace of mind.
So does this help out Jonathan or everybody else here? Does anybody have any follow-up questions? Anything else that we can dig into a little bit more? Any feedback on this, or are you all good and ready for the next question? Thank you, Jonathan. I love it. Glad it helped, man.
All right. So we calculated the rental value of a property. All right. Next question. How do we handle code violations? Those are fun. Actually, we're dealing with code violations right now in that property. The reason why it's sold to an investor instead of selling in the free market is that the property had code violations for neglect, for windows, for landscaping, all kinds of things.
It was unlivable. The prior people that were living there were, I guess, for lack of a better word, hoarders. And so according to the house had junk-like conditions, according to the court enforcement agents, and they flat out required us also to put in AC. They did not want any more window units, and we could have definitely fought that, but that's not the way that I approach code violations. So we were hanging out with our good friend and world traveler and genius Liza, and she asked, "Hey, how do you guys deal with code violations?" Here's the truth of the matter. In order to wind up with a property with code violations, unless you already own it and you're the one that got the code violations, you had to accept that code violation, or you bought a property with a cloud on title. When you buy a property through the traditional methods and the seller provides you a title insurance policy, you typically have done a lien search and a violation search, and none of this is an issue. In this case, this property, we knew it had it. The bank flat out came out and told us, "Hey, these are the violations. Are you guys willing to take it?" We assessed the risk and we decided to move forward, and we take a cloud on title for those violations. Everything else on the title was fine except for those violations. So step number one, before we even commit to buying the property, and COVID story, guys, I walked away from 2 deals during COVID because the cities shut down. They had violations, and I could not get a hold of the city inspector and or the city officials in order to figure out what the violation was. We're at the point in our career where we're happy to take on these types of things because, they used to scare the heck out of me years ago. Now I actually target them because a lot of junior investors are afraid of them. I know exactly how to deal with them. I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to deal with them so you guys don't have to be afraid of them. But I'll tell you the most important part. You have to know what you're getting yourself into ahead of time.
Yes.
It's not something that you want to go into blindly. The reason why I walked away from two amazing deals during COVID was because I could not get clarity from the city as to exactly what the violations were and what they wanted us to do in order to fix those violations. So the safest bet for me was to walk away. So find who the inspector is. And this is readily available on the violation. If your city is, in the 21st century, all of this is readily available online. You can do a code violation search, and then the violation is signed and stamped by the inspector, the city inspector who found it. If they're not, simple phone call to their code enforcement department. They'll give you that inspector's contact information, email, whatever you need, as well as all the details about the violation. Then you want to reach out directly to that inspector. If that inspector no longer works there, then who took over that violation? Somebody's in charge of it, because they're typically keeping tabs on it every 30 to 60 days.
They usually work by area. So if
yes,
somebody
exactly.
retired or it's not there, it's a vacation or whatever happened, they are assigned areas. So the code inspector for that area should know what's going on in that moment, or whatever person was assigned. Ideally, you want to meet the code officer on site. Okay, important. I mean, as much as you can. We couldn't do it on this one because of COVID, but Hector chatted with the lady for hours and hours. If one thing we can do is talk. So try to get the information, try to get the history. What do they want done? And exactly how they want it done. Okay, remember, these are the people that you need to satisfy, and they need to be happy in order for, close the case. So they're at the end, they're kind of like the boss. Whatever they want done, you got to get it done. If whatever you need to be done is out of your budget, it's out of your capacity, or the property is worth, you're gonna spend more money than what it needs to be done in order to be able to get profitable, walk away. Okay, there's no shame in walking away from a bad deal. Let somebody else deal with the headache. Okay. The other thing that you might want to tell them, and this always our speech, is that we are bringing the community to a new standard. Okay, they love that. They eat that like it's nothing. You are raising the community to a new level, to a new standard. You want to get you want to make it the prettiest home in the whole neighborhood. Okay.
Yes.
So basically, every neighbor and every code enforcement and everybody in the city should and will be happy with you doing it. Okay. Once you get, you're gonna get the list. Okay. Get the core requirements. What needs to be done and how does it need to be done? Do you require permits to do it? Some cities are different than others. For example, we just found out that Charlotte County in Florida does not need a permit to do a kitchen, a building permit. Okay, so in Broward, in Palm Beach, we need a building permit in order to replace the kitchen cabinets. We do, though, needed an extra permit for the electrical panel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
We need the electric capacity for that. We usually don't need it here. Okay, so find out exactly what and how they want everything done. Once you need to have the how and what they want done, try to price it out. Again, if the price is too much, walk away. If the price is okay, keep doing it. Okay. Now, usually those properties that have code violation, they have liens attached to it. Okay, which is the basic problem. Those liens are usually a set amount plus a per diem, meaning that they accrue on a daily basis until the property is satisfied. So you can find properties with $100,000, lien violation, but at the end, the cities usually will release all that lien. They will mitigate that process, which is what we're looking for, and they will reduce the fine to usually their expenses plus a little more. Okay, but you need to find out exactly how much the lien is. Okay, and then you need a detail. Okay, exactly, like Hector is like amnesty. Sir, I'm doing something for the community. What can you do for me? Otherwise, this thing is gonna keep sitting there for another 2-3 years until somebody else picks it up, and you're gonna get the same story because we are in the business to do this. We'd like to do it, but we like to do it for profit. We don't do all the work for somebody else to enjoy it. Okay, for nothing, nothing for us. So find out what's the lien mitigation process. Usually the lien mitigation process cannot start until you bring the property to compliance. Bring the property to compliance is pull all your permits, finish all your work, okay? Finish
That is
everything
to
that
give
was
you at the beginning.
required for you to do, and have the property re-inspected. Once the property is re-inspected, the code enforcement officer will check it out, will check it, mark that the property is in compliance, everything's done through the websites right now, and automatically will clear that you have any violations. Now, the property is free and clear of code enforcement violations. However, you still have a lien attached to it, okay? The last part is to, once you find out what the lien mitigation process is, you need to apply, okay, with the county to close, reduce, or remove the lien. Most of the time, there's a reduction. I've never seen a reduction of the fine. Actually, we should have put this one. We reduce the fine and remove the lien. Okay, the lien is the actual paper that says you cannot sell until this paper is void, and the paper will be void once you pay your fines. They will usually reduce the fines to whatever their expenses are, plus a bit more. So don't let it happen again, even if it was on our property.
Not always. Hashtag Coral Springs.
Hashtag Coral Springs. That's where I'm at right now, and I had good luck with it. So yeah, remember, everything goes by the experience.
Yeah.
I'm in Coral Springs, Florida right now. I've done plenty homes in this neighborhood. I never had a problem with code enforcement. Hector did one, and he hates the neighborhood. It's a matter of experience and just going for it. Either way, even though he hates it, he still made a profit. Not as much as he wanted, but he still made a profit. But that's
it wasn't it wasn't fun writing a $20,000 check to the city, man. That was not fun.
I trust that. I wrote those checks. That's basically how you deal with
the main point is that you typically got all this information up front, and it does happen. Like me, I was told up front, yeah, you're gonna get your violations reduced, and it happens, guys. So always obviously budget if there is a lien, and not all violations have liens. It's just a matter of how long they've been there. But for the most part, if you're buying distressed property, they've got a lien. There's some cities like in Hollywood, Florida, Lou, the one that we did last year, they have 100% amnesty. In Port Charlotte, they have 100% amnesty. They just charge you $1,000 fee. They charge you an application fee for the lien reduction process. You have to go before the magistrate. It's sort of like a little court hearing, so to speak. You present your case, but they've already told you. This city already says, hey, this is what we want. If you do this, we're gonna pay the application fee, and as long as everything is in compliance, you're gonna pay us $1,000, and that's it. It's done. We'll call it even. Some cities are a little bit gray. Those are the ones you want to be a little bit more cautious of. The ones that are like, well, maybe we'll see. Depends on what you do. Those are the ones that you want to tread lightly. And this comes down to the city or the county, depending on your particular area. In this case is Charlotte County. In other areas, it's the city, like Louis just said, Coral Springs, Hollywood, Florida.
As a guideline, if you don't have any more information, or they're not clear with you, whatever, try to budget for at least a third of the fine. Okay, so if the property has $25,000, go for a third. Just budget to have $7,500, ready to do it.
I like 50%, but that's just me.
Yeah,
because of what happened with me in Coral Springs. That's why I'm a little bit more.
So keep some budget, because maybe the magistrate that morning, had a fight with his wife. Who knows? And you will get the magistrate's like a judge, and he has the last say. There's no way to go back. Okay.
You can appeal it if you want, but good luck. It usually doesn't go anywhere.
And that's what he wants.
And just so you guys know, there are companies out there that this is what they do. So you could absolutely choose to hire someone, an attorney or a specific code mitigation company. And most larger cities and counties, they do exist. There's companies out there that do this. In my personal experience, I've sat in on plenty of these hearings. And unless it's just really far or complicated or I'm really busy, I prefer to show up. It's usually about 1 or 2 hours of my life, and it's a substantial dollar amount that's on the line. And these people, not all the time, add a huge amount of value, unless you hire a full-blown attorney, in which case now it's going to be pretty pricey. They might be charging you $300-500 an hour, and they're going to be there, 2 or 3 hours, and that can add up. So that's definitely up to your personal comfort level. You will have to go before the magistrate. It's almost like a court hearing. You got to stand up on the podium. Everybody's looking at you. So the first time I ever did one was a little bit nerve-wracking. I sat in, to a prior to get ready for mine, and that's just kind of how I went about getting ready. But it's all on your comfort level and your public speaking capabilities. If not, by all means, just hire someone to go to that hearing for you.
Yep.
Any questions, thoughts, or concerns about how to handle code violations and mitigate code violation liens? Give me a 2 on the chat if you found that to be helpful and if it added value to your particular real estate investing career. While we go ahead and wait for those 2s that are blowing into the chat, let's go ahead and move on.
All right. Number 4.
I love this question.
Do you guys really deal with evictions? Yep. That's the answer. Yeah, we do. All right. Now, for the most part, you cannot handle an eviction by yourself. You need to hire an eviction attorney. Any real estate attorney can do an eviction. Unless you are very familiar with the judge, very familiar with procedures, and the property is on your name, you cannot or you should not be in front of a judge asking for eviction. In Florida, like it says here, if you have your property in the name of your LLC or your S Corp or whatever, you, meaning the property owner, okay, or the property company name, has to be represented in court by an attorney. So even if you cannot do it. Now, the attorney will set up the eviction. There's different ways to set up an eviction. There's an eviction set up if you are renting, you have a tenant, or there's ways to evict a person when you bought a property in foreclosure where you don't want that person there no more. Okay. Now, the attorney will take care of that. But like I'm putting here, the attorney is not going to show up the day of the move. So my first recommendation is, did you hire a property manager? Yes or no? If you hire a property manager, the property manager is responsible for taking care of this. Okay. If you did not hire a property manager, then you're going to be the one moving people out. Okay. So there are a few things. First, there's different ways. I'm going to talk quick about Florida. How do you move a person out? If the property has a tenant, okay, and the tenant did not pay, in Florida, you need to give them a 3-day notice. The 3-day notice to cure, meaning that if they don't pay in 3 days, you are going to file for an eviction, or you're going to give it to an attorney to file for an eviction. Okay, that's only for lack of payment. If the tenant is violating the lease in any other way, meaning that your lease says no pets and they have a pet, meaning that your lease says there's no smoking inside and they're smoking inside. Maybe your lease says it's for 2 persons per room and they have the whole football team living there. You need to give them a notice to cure, and that notice to cure takes 7 days. You post it in the door, or you send it by certified mail, and they have 7 days to cure it. If within 7 days you reinspect and the property keeps the same, you send everything to the attorney goes and works for the eviction. In case of a foreclosure, let's say you buy a foreclosure sight unseen and somebody's living there, you have to give that tenant 30 days notice that you took over. Within those 30 days, that tenant needs to prove to you that he's a tenant, meaning by having a written lease, and by paying you rent. Remember, the definition of a tenant is a person that is paying for being staying inside the house. If that person does not provide you a lease or does not provide you with payment, then you have, within your 30 days, you can give it to the attorney. The attorney will file it immediately. Every foreclosure case on the judgment allows for the new owner to file for it's not redemption, for a writ of possession. Okay, writ of possession is the fancy attorney word for you getting your property back. Okay, so the attorney will file it and it will do the same thing. Now, what happens afterwards? Once they file, the attorney files, the attorney will give it to the sheriff, and the sheriff will post it. technically the sheriff will post a note says within 24 hours, okay, you're going to be evicted. So you need to move within 24 hours. It's never 24 hours. Usually it's 2, 3 days, whatever. Once they post, they will give you a call. They will give the property manager a call, actually, not you, when they're going to do the eviction. And at that moment, the person will, the sheriff will show up will call your property manager. Your property manager should bring
Locksmith.
a locksmith, okay, to open up the doors. If it does good case and the person moved out, then that's it. You change your locks. They give you your writ of possession. That's the paper. One copy stays in the property, usually in the door or in the window. You keep another copy. Problem solved. At that moment, I usually use it to walk around the property and do my inspection that I want need to be done, so I can, write down my list of repairs and done. Okay. If the property is occupied, then again, it's an issue of preferences. I've been told by my attorney that you do not leave anything inside the property. So the moment that you show up, the sheriff opens the door and the sheriff gives the notice of eviction. Everything has to be moved out and put in the curb. Everything. Okay. So you usually don't show up by yourself. You usually show up with a moving crew, or you usually show up with, workers or whatever, and everything has to be out. Has been cases, and my attorney has had cases where that person, all of a sudden, the property manager is not prepared. They kick the people out. They leave all the furniture, all the personal belongings inside the house. They lock it in. This, post tenants come back within a week, and all of a sudden the family jewels, disappear, or very, very, very valuable artwork disappear, and so you become responsible for their items. If, of course, if they didn't pay the rent, I'm sure they didn't have a whole bunch of cash sitting under the mattress that suddenly disappeared, but you know how people are. So always, doesn't matter the state where you are, everything goes into the curb, okay? So be prepared. The evictions are not easy. Evictions are emotionally taxing. I've had help kids put the PlayStation things in the boxes because the kid couldn't, believe that they were getting kicked out of the home. But at the end, it's a problem that you try to solve, but it happens. Okay. Try to work with the people, but at some point, if you post it and you try to work in it, you contact them and you talk to them, and it comes to the point that the sheriff is knocking on their door, they really wanted it. Okay. So try to move the stuff as soon as everything is out of the house. Lock it up and don't show up in a couple of days. Okay.
So
all the junk
I'll add a little bit to that, Lou, because it is definitely an emotionally taxing experience. I've actually had to do an eviction with the SWAT team because the Broward Sheriff's Office had these individuals that were living there on some sort of a list, and they did not want to do it on their own. They wanted to bring the SWAT team. So it can get really, really, really crazy. So we always try to avoid it. If I can pay someone $1,000, $2,000 to move out instead of having to evict them. Mind you, an eviction costs me by $500, maybe $700 hiring a professional attorney, all in. I'd rather give them a little bit more and just make sure that they're good, that their family is good. And at the same time, now I'd make it in an exchange for, hey, if you leave the house in room clean condition with no damages, I'll hook you up with $1,000, $2,000. I have had people look at me straight in the face and tell me, if you don't give me $5,000, I'm not leaving. And in that case, I go file the eviction, because that's not the way. I can be nice and I can be flexible, but that's just not the way that it works. I have rights, and I'm going to be, look out and try to help you out. But there's a limit to what I can and what I will do for someone. And I have also been on the other side of what Lou just said, where we've decided to not put people's stuff out on the curb, particularly in condos. It makes it really, really tough. And so what our attorney has instructed us to do is, now you have to lock up that property in that unit in front of the sheriff in order to avoid what Louis just said, that, something disappeared. You lock up the property, and before the sheriff takes off, right in front of their eyes, and you have to hold their property for 14 days by Florida law and allow them access anytime they want. So it does become an extreme pain in the neck, because anytime they want, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go get my stuff. You got to go let them in. So obviously you have to play with how you feel comfortable on an emotional level, but also make sure that you adhere to the laws in your state. This is strictly Florida law. And Jonathan, no, Florida does have some squatter laws in order to protect squatters, but like Lewis says, there has to be evidence that you are a tenant. If you're just straight up squatting in a property, no, Florida is not like California. They'll boot you out, man.
Just the only way that I know of that the squatter is protected in Florida is if the squatter paid the property taxes.
Correct. And that would take a very long time. If yes, there has been stories where somebody squats on a property for 2 or 3 years. They made substantial upgrades. They paid property taxes and city cost and things like that. Yes, now they have equitable rights. But that's not the case for just flat out squatters. All right, we are a little bit behind schedule. So if you guys have any follow-up questions to this, please fire it off into the chat. And Lou, let's go ahead and scroll down to the next question, because I believe this is a beautiful question, an amazing question that someone asked. And okay, so I got a question here from Jonathan. On your screen here, guys, if you want to take a screenshot before you guys head out, these are some of mine and Lewis's favorite real estate investing and real estate related books. I have personally read every single one of these books. I love them all, and they're not in any particular order. Rich Dad Poor Dad is not just about real estate, but it does give you the guiding principles behind real estate, behind passive cash flow, behind investing in assets, and not just being a worker for your money.
Lost you.
No, that's it. So in here, we're going to go with Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. The Book of Real Estate, also a Robert Kiyosaki book, and the ABCs of Real Estate Investing by Ken McElroy. Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelbright. Great book. Multifamily Millions by David Lindahl, David Lindahl. And Real Estate Titans by Erez Cohen. The Old Mighty BRRRR Method: Buy, Rehab, Rent, Refinance, Repeat by David M. Green. We've all heard of Bigger Pockets. This is one of the strategies that they highly recommend and sell you and instruct you on and teach you on. Also Hold, the book is called Hold. That is by Stephen Chatter, and it is exactly that. It is the art and the business of holding real estate for cash flow. Flip by Rick Vinali. Same scenario. It is specifically about flipping real estate. And 3 of my favorite all-time books: The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, both by Mr. Gary Keller, aka the guy who came up with Keller Williams, or at least one of the guys who founded Keller Williams, and The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. The Millionaire Next Door is not only about real estate, but it is very much real estate related, and it gives you some really good guiding principles. So these are all books that we, again, love and have found very valuable in real estate. Thank you all so much for being here. Jonathan asks, so to avoid that, do you regularly have to check properties and make sure that nobody is squatting? Or do you get someone to check on your properties for you? So yes, we regularly check on properties. I never let a vacant property go more than 3 to 4 weeks without it being checked on, typically even more than that. It's very rare when I have a vacant property just lingering out there. Again, not to say that, because of necessarily the squatters, but also because of, people stealing it, people damaging it, and things like that. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Lou.
Yeah, I usually, yeah, I'm a maniac. I usually drive them very, very frequently, or I make, friends with the neighbors. And if anything, just can you please give me a call if you see anything strange. In the case of a tenancy, we usually put on our leases that we can get into the property within 24 hours as long as we let the tenant know. And we also put that we are there to do an inspection every quarter, inspect and replace the air conditioning filters. So that's basically our excuse that we do go with the filters, we replace them, we do a visual inspection of the property, make sure everything is all right and everything is working properly. At that moment, you can see if there's, anything out of place, that it shouldn't be there. And at that moment, you can, you leave, um, you don't make the statement right then and there. You're just doing one thing, and then the next day you put everything in writing. Don't confront anybody because there's no point. And next day you put everything in writing. You send them the notice to cure the whatever violation was it, and that's it. Okay, within 10 days you go and re-inspect it, and if it is done, it's done. If it's not done, then you take your next steps. Okay.
Boom. That is beautiful. Once again, thank you all for taking the time to hang out with Mr. Luis Alejandro Lopez and myself on this beautiful Friday afternoon. We look forward to getting more questions from you all, and we will see you on Friday, May 27th at 2 p.m. right here once again. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend.
Bye, guys.